You are a Christmas tree because a Christmas tree is a perfect representation of life between heaven and earth. Your light body is the star, it is channeled down into your head, and its metaphysical roots extend upwards to the sky. This can also be understood to be your crown, or if really high on its channeling frequency, a higher self as high as the soul or oversoul. Yes, the less dense, the more light body you become. NE is the collective of our higher selves in heaven, but also is she the collective of how your own light individuates into different lights. This collective of light can be seen as a complex idea in which you can dress yourself with or manifest yourself into. It's basically a shiny personality configuration, yet unknown to man. SE is the manifested. He rebirths himself as if eternal and real like the heavens, but is in actuality the sustained image of temporal community identity. NE becomes the SE branches of a tree eventually, and it becomes visible in the real world. This is when collective ideas, light and creation, called NE, has successfully grounded itself to earth reality until its SE form is achieved. SI is the individual tree trunk holding it all together, which sustains its own identity as it is by repeating the timeline it has experienced and is configured to replay or rebirth. SI is the stability and reinforcement of the individual physical self. Its only job is to resist change and preserve its foundational root system. In its deepest depths, SI is the particle, which in and of itself resists change more than any other physical locality. SE is also as deep in its roots as the collective of particles, but even on more superficial levels does it also handle all other collective timelines and localities. SE is our co-created manifestation, which is the experience we have to large and convincing extent, as if being bound to the same server or same reality configuration. N heroes are ideal and shiny and capable of the impossible. S heroes, on the other hand, are not idealized or put on a pedestal, but they are, however, safe and secure on ground, providing stability and physical comfort, as well as being knowledgeable about our manifested configuration. S-heroes are expert on grounding, family, and practical or reliable ways to navigate our world. Like how a tree grounds the energy of a lightning bolt from heaven, does S-heroes ground N-heroes in the same way. The N-hero, on the other hand, helps to uproot the S-hero from the ground, or rather, since an S-hero is likely to hold on to their roots and past identity, are they not uprooted, but instead inspired to grow towards higher perspectives, like a plant reaching towards the sky. This can make a tree spiritual or religious, which dresses up the tree with ideas, inspiration, and supernatural elements. A Christmas tree is born, which makes it else than just a natural phenomenon. The Christmas star is supernatural, essentially transforming a tree into a symbol between heaven and earth by integrating its higher and lucid light body. The Christmas tree becomes an entity able to manifest its own creations onto the world, thanks to the recognition of the higher self. This connection between the natural and supernatural results in what we perceive as innovative manifestations, which means that light bulbs in heaven send energy down through the treetop and the idea energy is then grasped and held by earth. If you wondered why there are suddenly presents under the tree, then this is why. It's heaven that has taken physical form, and the forms are forms that people have wished for or intended for. This is also why we look up to the sky to make a wish, typically when a star is falling, which can be symbolically understood as a star that is about to be grounded. The more grounded a light bulb becomes, the more it turns into a physical dense substance, like plastic toys under the Christmas tree. The less grounded a light bulb, the more it is a fleeting idea in ethereal space. Manifestations as such are less physical, but can be vivid and meaningful to the subjects involved. It's also easier to manifest ideas the higher the ground we aim for, which is why neuroplasticity is more changeable than deeper substance in our root body. We also tend to decorate our higher selves more than our lower self, generally speaking, like wearing makeup, earrings, or haircuts. The peak decoration of a Christmas tree is also the star on top for that very reason, and of course, because our higher selves are literally from the stars. The light is placed on the top of the tree, having a positive charge. and like a battery, does the roots of the tree have a negative charge, absent of light source. This is also why we experience positive feelings in heaven, but negative feelings on earth. You feel uplifted when feeling blissful, but feel heavy when feeling depressed. However, it's also true that you feel heavy when you feel safe, and that you feel uplifted when you feel anxious. Therefore, it's important to understand that the negative polarity can potentially feel good, and the positive polarity can potentially feel bad. Like a Christmas tree, can we learn to feel good in both the positive and negative polarity as such, which in the lower self requires integration of experience like emotional processing, and in the higher self requires divine remembrance acquired through philosophy, love, and primary pre-birth authenticity? According to my theoretical understanding so far, we are most likely light beings, temporarily grounded to an alternative reality or creation. Since the Christmas tree also has dressed itself in heaven, being the light bulbs, soul star, and presents, can we also conclude that the Christmas tree is actually a symbolic representation of Christ consciousness, heaven on earth, and enlightenment? Rather than only representing the subconscious of a natural object like a regular tree, is it expressing how the superconscious creator energy looks when merging with the subconscious down-to-earth nature? Subconscious means below conscious, and superconscious means extra-conscious. Heaven is superconscious, which is also why it's where we find love, while earth is subconscious, which is why it's where we have created avatars and realities. On earth we can hold complex experiences of a more solid quality, and as a Christmas tree, can we be attached to both earth and heaven at the same time?
Einstein discovered heaven without knowing it as such, thanks to his focus and preference for trying to perceive less physical or less obvious substance. The religious term we have called heaven was in my intuitive understanding actually analogous to Earth's EM field. Since the people of that time could not put their finger on what it was, they had to make up a symbol for what was yet to be known. There is a lot we still don't know about EM fields, but since I, Kataro, has connected to heaven through a type of Kundalini awakening or enlightenment experience, can I with confidence also say that it's made of otherworldly angelic emotions and consciousness? Like Einstein said himself, I maintain the cosmic religious feeling is the strongest and noblest motive for scientific research. He was channeling the thoughts of heaven, also called NT in Cataronics. The cosmic feeling he felt in the universe was NF, possibly NEFE, which is why he framed it as if the electromagnetic emotion is so external relative to his individuality. By analyzing how Einstein was thinking, we can clearly see how he favored intuition over sensing, preferring the idea that all matter was made by and controlled by energy. This is indeed the intuitive orientation, and is directly comparable to how spirituality believes in free will, and also in how God from heaven created earth or the universe. He also thought one needed to use a higher mind in order to solve problems, hence to be guided by such as the cosmic religious feeling. That is heaven itself. And by receiving emotion and thought from heaven can we reperceive the matter. Matter is reactive and habitual, thus will it repeat its problems and mistakes if it attempts to use only itself. Help and inspiration from our soul and heaven are therefore the solution. We astral travel up into electromagnetic content, searching for a higher perspective, because the higher the perspective, the closer to the electromagnetic field we get. When we go high, we go away from focusing on Earth as if lost in survival, and instead we focus on the energetic content high up above us, which is in heaven. Sometimes just slightly higher than our head is okay too. That's why ideas pops up like light bubbles above our head. Heaven-high minds, however, are required for healing Earth itself, or bringing heaven to Earth. For example, Einstein also said, quote, "For an idea that does not first seem insane, there is no hope." Saying that the field is the sole governing agency of the particle also suggests that he was onto a typical spiritual opinion that may be correct, which is that the field keeps matter real through imagination. If that's true, the identity of the physical entity is governed by its EM field activity. Even the identity difference between a rabbit and a human is then possibly determined by how the field chooses to birth the image inside it. The image inside it, or identification, may, on the other hand, rebirth content subconsciously and therefore unconsciously, give the field instructions to automatically rebirth its image as it always was configured to be. The field is, in that sense, enslaved to the identity of the body, demanding rebirth of old beliefs, but also cells and other functions required to keep the body sustained, functional, and alive. In other words, the field itself, even if holding our true consciousness, is probably grateful for the subconscious image to do what it does without us needing to focus on all of those tasks. This means, in principle, that intuitive humans use their field more, manipulating their aura in order to change identity and manifest new behaviors unknown to the ancestral man. Sensor types, instead, focus more on letting the human in them be what it is, and pay attention to what's truly there as manifested, and they may fear disidentification or detachment because they already like or have liked reality as it is. Why weaken something one finds comfortable to live within? Intuitive people may not like reality as it is because they have had traumatic experiences, and their identity has become painful as a result. They seek to change their electromagnetic field or aura so that their identity changes too, following the governing field principle. Intuitive people might seem very nonsensical, having strange ideas and perceptions. They may also use imagination and placebo to fake something till they master the new identity they want. They look for re-identification, a higher mind which allows problems they are stuck in to be reframed and transformed. In a way, they look for what sensing perceives to be unbelievable miracles, which can arguably only be achieved with assistance from our heaven and superconscious. Intuitive feelers look for numinous feeling, as Carl Jung would call it. Intuitive thinkers look for higher mind, as Einstein would call it, both reaching for the sky, their dreams, the healing promised by heaven once one arrives there.
Sensing is grounding, intuition is uprooting. They truly are opposites in this way, and therefore, we could say that introverted sensing is your physical body, which is bounded by weight and density. Introverted intuition, on the other hand, is your metaphysical body, hence your light body, which does not have any weight. It's the soul, floating around in dreamy bliss consciousness. Since sensing equals grounding, we need to interocept into our flesh and feel weighted in all of its cells in order to ground ourselves into our sensing faculties. The true gateway into sensing is therefore interoception and time-space presence. That's how you get grounded and therefore access the faculties and experiences available in sensing. If you had metaphysical idea-driven ADHD by being stuck in NE, your ADHD might actually vanish the better one gets at embodying sensing through downregulation. I call it downregulation because it should feel as though your consciousness falls down from the sky or head into the lower body, and you feel like you are here and have your feet on the ground. This should be relaxing and perhaps even depressing, depending on how your sensory state is already like. Intuition, on the other hand, requires upregulating in order to get access to itself, and has to do with overcoming gravity rather than embodying it. The upregulation will give either anxiety or bliss, depending on how healed and comfortable you are in regard to intuition. Inspiration is also another word for bliss. We feel in spirit when inspired. It's like a plant when sprouting, stretching against gravity, overcoming gravity, feeling in spirit and closer to heaven. When grounding, we become humans and earth, gripped by its programming, but giving energy to its functioning. This is actually essential for its health on many levels, so that the organism is not stuck in freeze mode for too long. In fact, that's how intuition works. It works because our body freezes. This is also why we stop and look up to the sky when we philosophize. We might look up at the stars, or we might simply sit still and close our eyes. We might ignore information in our physical environment. We might ignore information in our physical body. We need to learn both how to downregulate and upregulate so that we can choose appropriate consciousness for the context we face. For instance, should downregulation happen every night because we sleep better when relaxed or even depressed? Why do we say, "I slept like a rock"? Well, it's because the person embodied the weight needed to be a sensor type. In fact, when using what's called a weighted blanket, You're tricked into becoming more of a sensor type because you suddenly feel a sense of weight in your conscious focus. In general, sensing people actually sleep more deeply and more healthily than intuitive people do, because they let the subconscious take more automatic control. So here is the secret. Even though intuition needs one to fly, does sensing require the opposite, which is weight and density? This works even if imaginary, like melting all your body parts down in the bed below you. The skill of practicing how to both down-regulate and up-regulate using these methods should increase your capacity to use both sensing and intuition when appropriate in all parts of your life, simply by learning the skill of both grounding and uprooting. It's time to sleep like a rock. Good night.